I'd like to talk about Iran, because we hear similar things about Iran. And Iran, of course, Hezbollah is certainly maybe the primary force in Lebanon's government, but Iran, of course, is one of the primary adversaries of the United States, a target of the United States. And of course, Israel has, although it has never been able to get it, has wanted Iran to be taken out, as it has wanted all resistance forces, especially those who successfully take power in government. And so I'd like to ask, given that you mentioned back in April of 2024 the assault and the murder of top Iranian IRGC officials inside of an embassy in Damascus. Yes, that brought a response. Now we have, of course, Ismail Haniyeh and what happened in Tehran. We are expecting Iran to do something, because they've equated it. The supreme leader, the government has equated it with. Actually, I think they said it was beyond even the crime that was committed on the embassies in Syria. So, what maybe both of you could answer. What response can we expect? Also, how does the Axis of Resistance view Iran? Because often it is viewed as the leader of the Axis of Resistance. Is that accurate? And if so, what are the impressions that people have of Iran in this wisdom of the Axis of Resistance that you've been speaking about?
Well, the thing is, we grow up and we learn that every person is different. Well, every state is different, and every kind of policy is different. Iran, yes, is the biggest entity and the strongest entity in the axis of the resistance. It empowers all the other entities in the axis of the resistance. But the relationship between Iran and the entities it empowers is not in any chance similar to the relationship between, for example, America and its entities. What I'm trying to say is that the relationship between Iran and Hezbollah is not that of which do that, don't do that. It's a symbiotic relationship in ideology and in a joint goal. But the Lebanese choose for themselves. I mean, Hezbollah chooses for themselves and they suggest what they want to do. Maybe they negotiate, maybe they aid them in the weapons. But the Iranians do not tell us what to do. And I think it's the same for the Yemenis. And I think it's the same for the Palestinians. And this is why you can see someone like Ismail Haniyeh in Iran and in Qatar and in Turkey. And in Syria, he had a different stance than the Islamic Republic of Iran on the political reasons. So Iran does not govern the armed groups that are called the Axis of the Resistance. Maybe because it's smarter than that. Because when you call yourself a liberation movement, you cannot come and colonize other people in a different way, right? Maybe because they're smart. They don't do what the Americans do. I mean, the Iranians do not come. We don't have Iranians in Lebanon governing anything about the war. But you have Americans inside Gaza massacring people in Nusayrat camp.
Right.
The Americans are actually changing the diapers for the Israeli soldiers while they're failing and they're defeated.
Yes.
Well, the Iranians send us missiles. Great. Before the Iranians, maybe other entities used to send us missiles as people. So the relationship between Iran and the resistance is not by any chance similar or like comparable to the relationship between America and Israel, for example. But yes, Iran is the leader because Iran makes weapons, great weapons, actually, great drones. We are like living and seeing. And maybe they help, maybe they make the ballistic missiles that can help Yemen deter the world trade line. But they do not tell the Yemenis what to do or how to govern their country. I mean, inside Lebanon, everybody who is pro-America, they're always speaking about how we have Iranian occupation, whatever. Nobody from Iran ever speaks about Lebanese domestic politics, but every Saudi person speaks about domestic Lebanese politics. On Twitter, you have to see them on Twitter. Every Saudi person has a say what I should do in my country. I've never heard an Iranian ambassador or an Iranian minister or an Iranian political leader speak about the internal things in Lebanon. Even in Syria, they spoke very very little in the beginning.
It's
So it's
incredible to
different.
hear you talk about Saudi Arabia, Saudis and Saudi Arabia talking about how other people should govern given the state of their government. But I digress. Continue.
No, Saudis about Lebanon. You don't know about it. They had a minister expelled. They had a minister. George Kordahi was a minister in Lebanon. He spoke anti-Yemeni war. They made a campaign, and then he resigned. He was the minister of communication. They bullied a Lebanese minister out of his office. They are that much invested in Lebanese domestic politics. Okay, so the Iranians do not have this kind of relationship. When we talk, well, the other part of the question is, how do you think they would reply? How do you think they would retaliate? In the course of the past 10 years, even before the October 7 operation and before the Al-Aqsa flood started and all that, before all that, the Iranians were really targeting stuff like, we knew it's them or not them. They were targeting ships. They were targeting, I mean, in the Oman Sea, in the Red Sea. There were always like tit for tat between the Israelis and the Iranians, and it's like unannounced war, maritime kind of war. If you go back and you track, and the viewers, if they're interested, you go back and you track in the past 10 years how many tit for tat attacks happened between the Israelis and the Iranians in the sea. And also, they haven't stopped deterring the Israelis in their own way. We cannot come and introduce our way. I will just answer by one very known saying, and one top Iranian politician, a diplomat, told me one time, like, every time we ask about Iran, remember, we have a very nice proverb. It says, الصبر والظفر صديقان قديمان. So Iranians have this proverb that says, patience and victory are my two old friends. So I think they will take their time and they will be victorious.
Yeah. I mean, and that's been the theme, I think, with the axis of resistance, and with the those who on the one hand, I understand the maybe some impatience, especially those who are witnessing, as you called it, the televised genocide. There's a understanding, why won't more change? Why can't there be more change? But everything that you said does speak to a profound change that is occurring, and you've called it, this defeat of Israel. I mean, Israel is bogged down. I get emotional about the heroic courage of the Palestinian people, not just for surviving a genocide, but the resistance is so it's so valiant and so skillful, and so you can tell the preparations have been made, because
they've been doing it for 76 years.
So, and just I mean, could you speak to this? Because Israel continue, and the Zionists and of course the US, they all talk about the axis of resistance as if there's a conflict, if there's a bigger escalation, that they will be able to step in and everything is going to be great, that there's going to be a massive defeat of anything that threatens Israel's existence. I just don't see that. Could you talk? I just don't see that happening at all. And maybe you can speak to this.
I'm just going to say, is that so? If that is, then what are you waiting for? What have you been waiting for? Did you like us before? Were you not racist before? Did you? If they could, they would, Danny. If they could, they would. They're just very good at talking. And Hollywood and media, it's all made in America. And I mean, they are very skilled in making up the propaganda and make-believe stuff. I mean, they have a full entity that is make-believe. There's no country. It's a bunch of people that came and stole ours. So they are very good in making up lies and believing them. But we will live and we will see. And quoting Sayyid Nasrallah, you are laughing now, but you will cry a lot.
Yeah, and maybe we can transition to this history that you've been referencing, the bonds, because I think the axis of resistance, people view Hezbollah, they view Iran, they view Ansar Allah as together against Israel. because of what Israel's been doing. And I think that's true, but I know that there's this long history of colonization that you've spoken about, which perhaps you can help inform our audience about why these bonds exist. Why is it that the axis of resistance is more unified than ever? How does history inform this? Because I know that there's a long history of especially the people of the Levant and the people of the region. So maybe you can close on that.
Well, it's always been bloody. They've always been fighting for this area, and because of this peculiar melting pot of culture and civilization. I mean, I'm very proud of our nation. You can't find this mix of people and ethnicities and blends and cultures and we have this different characteristic being here in the center of the junction between Asia, Europe, and Africa. This is where our country is, and this is it's very special. I mean, look at Palestine, how important it is for Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. And even prehistory, even when people used to the sun god, you know, Ammon, even during the before even these three religions, this land has always been rich and has always been a land of civilization. If you look at Mesopotamia, it's the first written human rights by Hammurabi and laws. If you look at the Syrian shores, it's the first alphabet and the first musical notes written, and like it's a musical piece written. It was in Ugarit in Syria, the first guitar in Iraq, in Mesopotamia. This is a very old part of the world that had a lot of culture and a lot of civilizations and a lot of wars. But it was ruled by the Ottoman Empire for like hundreds of years until the defeat of the Ottoman Empire in the First World War. Even during the times of the Ottoman Empire, things weren't really great. There was oppression, there was sectarian, there was poverty, there was like they used to oppress everybody who wanted out, but still it was governed as one. It was still called the Greater Syria. Okay, and then after the defeat of Ottoman Empire, the British and the French, they divided this area. The British took Palestine and Iraq, the French took Lebanon and Syria, and they started implementing certain local rules, and it's all just for, you know, the reason of colonization, wealth to rule, for power, for money, for influence. So if you look at the papers, even when this happened, there was just after the World War One, the Zionism was already preparing itself. And the actual settlements and people coming, the refugees, the Jews from around the world come and make settlements in our land. It started in the 1800s, according to some of the books I'm reading now. For example, there's a book written by Lewis. It's called The Origins of Christian Zionism. It's from Cambridge. I would really recommend that people read it. Or Zionism during the Holocaust. You have to read the backstory of how everything was orchestrated just to come and steal our land. And the people who did it with a system, and they were helped and aided and funded. The Zionism worked on it. So even the British colonization of Palestine and Iraq wanted to work and to sell out. And there was like always talks between the British and the French on how much land from Palestine they would take or they would sell, and how much settlements they would build. This was the plan. They did take Palestine in 1948. They did kill all the people and start occupying Palestine, and they have been doing this and killing people and implementing all kinds of terrorism on this land, on the humans, on the infrastructure, on the culture, on the history. They stole our history. There's some things, please. I mean, it's very superficial what I'm gonna say, but even your viewers don't know. There's no such thing as Israeli hummus or falafel. What is Israeli hummus or falafel? Oh, Jack from Manhattan? It's Palestinian. Even Zaatar, they steal our kitchen, they steal our anthem, they stole our kufiya, they made it something else. I mean, the theft has been ongoing. They're trying to implement something It's become systematically like that, and since the day one, people wanted to fight. Since the 1948, Lebanese and Palestinians were fighting. They did not have the skill, they did not have the weapons, but nobody took the injustice for granted. Many people were killed, many people were raped, many people were. There was a big exodus. There was a big diaspora spread all over the region and the world. But still now, 76 years later, we haven't forgotten, and the generations are still remembering, and the oppression is still going on. I mean, maybe had they colonized Palestine and not been an apartheid state, maybe the next generation would have forgotten. But how can you make me forget when every day you beat me up just because my name is that and I was born here? I mean, what is my what did I do to you? You came from across the other side of the world to colonize me, and you hit me every day on my way to school. And they even deny people going and harvesting their crops in Palestine. So when we speak about the axis of the resistance, it started with the beginning of the oppression. In the 40s, it had a shape, and it was aided by some very limited money, maybe, and in the rise of the liberation movements across the world. In the 70s, there was a Nasser, there was a lot of communism and nationalism and liberation movements all around the world, and you could see like the intifadas and the first one and the second one, and of course the rise of the Islamic Republic of Iran changed the whole situation. Now Syria was a very important part in fighting the Israelis, especially Syria 20-30 years ago, because it was the only country that did not sell. Hafiz al-Assad salvaged the axis of the resistance when Anwar al-Sadat went and signed Camp David as an Egyptian. And then there was the 73 war. So our history is never peace here, because they do not want peace. They want more land, and they want to grab more land. The thing is, Israel has started its own self-destruction, because when they started their colony and in the beginning of the 19th century and the thoughts, and then in the beginning of the 20th century, the execution, it was a secular idea to grab land and to take and to implement some, even if you read the old Zionists, their ideas, and if you look at the far right today and how their baby Israel really turned out to be, you could see that it is only gonna self-destroy, even if the axis of the resistance did not really interfere. Now, China, Russia, Iran, Venezuela, even sometimes Austria, any country that says no to the United States, we feel in this part of we feel like the underdog, and we feel they're being the underdog like us. So sometimes when you speak about the axis of the resistance, even some of the countries that help the cause one way or the other don't have the same stance on Israel. So it's not monotonous, it's not homogeneous, right. It's not the same shape or size. It's only like we can all hate colonization and have different ideologies. So Syrians, Lebanese, Jordanians, Palestinians, right. Iraqis, Yemenis, they are all against colonization. They are all against Israel. Atheists, communists, religious, Islam, Christian. Nobody enjoys seeing their kids slaughtered. You have to understand. This is the only thing that Israel does. They slaughter our kids.
Thank you for tuning in to my latest video. I appreciate all of your support. This channel, however, needs your help. I am seeking to make this channel more sustainable in the long term and upgrade necessary equipment to ensure that this work continues onward and makes progress to give you all of the geopolitical analysis that you all deserve. For that reason, I'm asking you to become a member of my Patreon community at patreon.com/DannyHaiFong. You can find that link in the video description or in the pinned comment below. For whatever amount you choose to give, just know you are supporting independent media that you can't find anywhere else. Thank you so much, and I look forward to the next video.